Hey everyone, Chaos here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be obviously talking about the PS5 Pro because there seems to be nothing but PS5 Pro rage going about. We've got stupid people from the pony side comparing a handheld PC to a PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, this is beyond stupid. I mean, that literally is brain rot at this moment. They are comparing a small form factor handheld PC to a fully fledged console that requires a TV to even run. I mean, I don't get it, but do you know what? Whatever rocks their boat, because that level of stupidity can only come from one camp. But then again, what did you expect? But this video isn't about trashing ponies, because if I was to do that, I'd be here all day, and honestly, it's quite easy with just looking at what they're saying. The justifications that they're trying to use for the PS5 Pro's pricing is just beyond stupid. In fact, the only one that I've actually seen that has a, somewhat realistic and plausible point is Mighty Keith. Yes, believe it or not, Mighty Keith, who actually suggested that if the price was at $599.99, would that have been better? And I agree, it would be better. That would be way more palatable. But this video is talking about the misinformation going around. Now, Digital Foundry has had like a show where they've spoken about the PS5 Pro, and they've kind of laid some things down, and I think it's worth going through them because a lot of the misinformation going out there right now, whether it's from the Xbox camp praising the PS5 to high heaven, or Xbox fans praising the PS5 Pro to high heaven, and they don't even know what the console is capable of or what it can do. All they're looking is at the base specs and nothing else. And what's really outlined for me is the fact that I don't think there was a single third-party game shown outside of, I think, Hogwarts Legacy maybe, and that, well, we're going to get to that in a bit. But all the games that were shown on the PlayStation presentation for that 9 minutes were first party, more or less, and let's face it, Sony's quality in game presentation is really good. No one can sit here and tell me that Spider-Man 2 looks absolutely crap. So trying to demonstrate that with the PSSR technology and the new, ray tracing and whatnot, you're not really going to get that big of a boost, are you? Because when something already looks really good, it's not going to really get that boost. Now, if they showed me something like Wukong or something like Dragon Age 2, or Final Fantasy 16, which really struggles on that machine, or even Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, right? If they showed me something like that running much better, then I'd say, okay, you know what? This is actually a big deal. But they didn't do that, and this is why a lot of people turn around and say that there are major problems here with the presentation that they had with the PS5 Pro, and it actually flopped so hard. Not that the pricing helped it at all anyway. I mean, for God's sake, they couldn't even throw in the stand. But at the end of the day, this is what happens when you remove competition. It is what it is. But you know what? Let's move on and get into it, because I think there's a lot to discuss here. And I do want to go through a bit of it before the stream tomorrow, because we'll be going into this in a lot more depth. But first, I have to talk about this. I have to. This is ridiculous. Now, everyone keeps telling me that Jeff Keighley isn't a PlayStation show. Now, I'm going to just take myself off this for a second, and I can't. Let me do it this way. Where is it? There we go. Because I just want you to see just how ridiculous this is. How much he's been shilling for this. I've never, ever, ever seen him do something like this for Xbox. Never in a million years has he ever done anything like this for Xbox. This is crazy, Jeff. I mean, at least, try not to push your fanboyism this much. You're a public figure, but this is crazy. This is beyond crazy. Anyway, now with the satire out of the way, let's actually move on to something of some import. And we come over here and we can see Tom Warren, who says, I reported earlier this year that PS5 Pro enhanced games doesn't guarantee 60 FPS. Sony wasn't super clear on this yesterday, but there will be 30 FPS PS5 Pro enhanced games. Now, this is really important because the PS5 Pro has been sold as this, you don't need quality or performance. We are going to bring you that. We are going to bring you the best of both worlds with the PS5 Pro. Now, one of the things that they actually said during the presentation that was showcasing The Last of Us is that The Last of Us 2 targets 60 FPS. That doesn't mean it hits it all the time or it's locked, it's targeting. And don't forget what I said at the start of the video, PlayStation games are already really well developed, really well presented. So the fact that these games, you know, are already really high in quality, are still struggling with the PS5 Pro, you have to wonder what is going on here. Now, there is a remarked improvement when you actually watch them side by side, but still, the fact that it's not hitting 60 consistent is, you know, is a concern, especially at the price point that they're selling it at. Now, this is the one that I wanted to listen to because this is pretty, this is talking about Hogwarts Legacy. Remember I said I was going to get back to it? Well, let's just have a quick listen to it and see exactly what they're talking about.
Right. The other examples, like they showed Hogwarts footage where they were talking about it, it was still running at 30 frames per second, which I thought was interesting given what they were just saying about that earlier.
Yes.
You know?
It's not great, is it?
Right. So already we are they actually came out and showcased games. I mean, I noticed that was running slower, you know, at a worse frame rate than the others, but the fact that they came out and openly showcased on a big launch like this, which they kind of just pushed out honestly through the door because they just don't care. And this is the point that I think people are missing. And, you know, PlayStation fans are cheering for this like it's the greatest thing, but they're not seeing the underlying problem here, that with Microsoft having taken their foot off the pedal and not really caring, Sony doesn't have to care either. And that's bad for consumers overall. Remember I was badgering on about that, you know, competition is great because it keeps both sides on their toes, trying to deliver the best product to take your money? Well, they don't have to do that anymore. They can just deliver what they want, how they want, broken or not, running 30 FPS or not, and it doesn't matter because you're going to buy it anyway because you don't have a choice. There's no competition. And to me, this is a big problem, but at the same time, you know, when you're coming out and saying that you're going to be 60 FPS this and you won't need performance mode, and the game you're showing is 30 FPS, it's not great. Now, this clip here I'm going to play through. It's 2 minutes long. Let's play it through. I'm going to stop it and, you know, react to it, but there is points here that are kind of really important, and it's something that I touched on during my opening speech. But let's hear it out.
They very specifically, other than when highlighting things added to third-party games, so they did highlight Hogwarts, right? And they showed what it is doing differently, but they didn't show a comparison versus what it previously was. And I think they're doing that because they kind of don't want to say like, oh, your multi-platform title doesn't look good enough on PS5, or they just want to leave it to their own library of titles, these examples. If I was doing a video on a PC version of a game and I wanted to show DLSS looking better than FSR2 for something, I would always really show it off, you know, like you can really easily show it off. So I think them being limited to these PS titles as actually, that's not going to be the transformative thing necessarily. I think it could be third-party titles, right? So
that was my big thing, Alex. Is like it felt like what they were really needed to show here was some of these Unreal Engine 5 titles.
Bingo. There you go. That's the key point here, right? These Unreal Engine 5 titles like Wukong that are third-party, that aren't performing well, these are the ones that they should have come out and said, look, this is how it was running right now on the PS5. This is how it's running with the PSSR. You know, ray tracing cut down a bit, but it's still outperforming the ray tracing that was there before, thanks to the RDNA 4, if that is what it's using, and so forth, right? But they did none of that. They basically hid all of that. And with Dragon Age as well, like, this is crazy. Again, this continues pretty much talking about the same thing, you know, saying that how they would have preferred, you know, them to actually be talking about more third-party stuff that would have actually made more sense. We'll go over this more in my stream tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this, but it's interesting nonetheless that Sony orchestrated this in ways that left more questions than, you know, they needed to. But it just goes to show that, you know, they're not even trying anymore. You've got this over here with the memory bandwidth and effective memory bandwidth, and you can see here people are comparing it to the 7800 XT like Nibs was, and you know, Digital Foundry already said that it's severely underclocked at 7800, so you can't compare it to this. So when I see, you know, people like D-Batch comparing it to the 7800 XT or even the 4070, it's severely, you know, Digital Foundry themselves said it's significantly underclocked. That tells you everything you need to know. But since I see lots of people say that the PS5 Pro's GPU is going to perform like 7800 XT in restoration because they're both seemingly based on the RDNA 3 and 60 CUs, I need to remind people that the PS5 Pro's GPU lacks infinity cache, which greatly enhances the 7800 XT's effective bandwidth, and that's really important when it comes to memory transfer and you know, just it's important. You know, everything needs to sing in harmony. But this is the point that I was getting at just a minute ago. He says Digital Foundry, when asked which PC GPU most closely matches PS5 Pros, say RX 6800 or RX 7800 XT with a downclock. But he's not really emphasizing this, and instead concentrating on the ray tracing features, which to me have been a plague for gaming for quite a while. But let's just have a quick listen to this, and we'll go over it more in detail during the stream. But this is what I'm talking about.
Which PC GPU do you believe will most closely match the new PS5 Pro GPU? Now, this is really tricky, right? Because obviously there was a great deal of commonality between the PlayStation 5 GPU and the RX 6700 10 gig. Same level of compute units, broadly similar processing power, different memory bandwidth. But when we tested it in like-for-like scenarios, very, very close. There are two AMD GPUs that we've kind of had in mind for this, and they would be the AMD RX Radeon 6800, not the 6800 XT. That should deliver your 45% GPU improvement over base PS5.
So pretty much that's where it's actually at, right? That's where it's at, the 6800. And
it also has 60 compute units, I believe. And the alternative to that from the RDNA 3 lineup would be the RX 7800 XT, but you would need to downclock that significantly to about like 2.15 gigahertz, I think.
Like, who's going to downclock? I mean, the moment you're downclocking a graphics card significantly in that esteem, it's no longer comparable to a 7800 XT. That tells you everything you need to know, right? That this PS5, you know, the point I'm trying to make here is that the information floating around, oh, it's as powerful as a 4090, as a 4070, even the 7800, is misleading information. No one actually knows what they're saying. They're just bigging it up either because they're shilling out on their backsides or simply because they have no idea what they're talking about, and it's PlayStation is their preferred platform and they're bigging it up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I want the machine to do extremely badly. I am disappointed in the price point. That I am, because at the end of the day, this could set a new precedent for console gaming. And guess what? Console gaming has always been about, you know, a cheaper barrier to entry. And if that's being removed now, well, that creates a bigger problem. Obviously, people have been now taking closer screenshots. That's the PS5. This is with the PSSR. You can see it's a lot more blurry. But again, this could just be the YouTube, you know, compression, and it's just not liking it. But if this is how it is, that's not great. You've got these shadows over here as well. Like, people are saying, oh, these look better than these ones over here. I actually prefer the PS5 Fidelity ones over the PS5 Pro ones. I think they just look more defined and better. I know this is, you know, what people call diffusion, but it could also just be that the PS5 Pro is handling it really badly. You cannot tell me one way or the other, and honestly, that's the problem that we have right now. There is a lot of misinformation going about. There's a lot of what ifs and whatnot. There's a state of play happening soon, and with that state of play, we're going to get indie games running, which will probably maximize that 45%, right? And then we're also going to get third-party games that will probably be showing off the PS5 Pro's capabilities. Hopefully we'll see stuff like Dragon's Dogma or Wukong or Final Fantasy 16, where these games, you know, were struggling to maintain frame rates. That's what we want to see, that not only are these games going to look better, but perform better. You know, you want to see that £700 price tag justified, and at the moment it's not. And, you know, all these content creators that I'm seeing talking about it and really like blowing their load at what they believe this is going to be, when there is really no evidence that it's going to be anywhere near that. It just feels weird to me. It just feels like people are now trying to shift, I guess, their channels or their position to, you know, PlayStation, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to go and start making PlayStation content, go ahead and do it. But I think you should be truthful to your community, and honestly, right now I'm seeing a lot of creators that are just making shit up just for the sake of making a video, and I think that's wrong. But hey, let's discuss this more in the stream tomorrow. But that's where I'm at with this. We've got more, you know, evidence. We've got more like clips and things to go through. But hopefully I'll see you there. If not, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time in another video. Thanks so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this content, do hit that like and subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date of all content I release, and I'll see you in the next one. Just remember, if you're looking for the truth, if you're looking for information where you're gonna get it straight without any BS, this is the place to be. Remain legend.